Dumelang, Dumilani, Sanbonani. Hello to all our viewers and a warm welcome to our guest. I am your host, Sharon Mohokwani. Welcome to the Amaruri TV show, where we talk about hard issues and the truth concerning them. Today on the Amaruri show, we will be talking about child molestation and its effects. Sexual abuse is particularly a sinister type of trauma because of the shame it instills in the victim. It, however, has immense consequences and can affect the victim for a very long time in a negative way. On the show today, we want to discuss this sad reality, and we hope to encourage viewers to see the importance of protecting children and providing good guardianship. Here in studio with me today, I have two ladies as our guests, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves.
Hello, viewers at home. My name is Mauto. I am a 45-year-old mother of two and a teacher by training.
Hello, viewers at home. My name is Kinosi Rangwana. I come from Matseta. I'm 44 years old. I have one daughter. I am a customs officer based at Lobat.
Thank you to both of you, and thank you so much for being on the show. We also have our pastor with us, our resident pastor and counselor. Can you please say hello to the viewers, Pastor?
Hello, viewers at home. Pastor Molestation of AFM in Molestation.
Yeah, welcome. Kinosi, may you please tell us about your childhood?
I grew up living with my relatives. When I grew up, my mother, because he didn't have the facilities to bring me up, she decided to give me to my aunt, who raised me up. And during that time, it was difficult from my mother's side. And I stayed with my aunt with her kids, 2 boys.
Okay. And Mautu, can you tell us about your childhood?
I grew up in Mogodisani. I was raised by my grandmother. My mother had me when she was quite young, and she gave me to her mother to raise me. I grew up in an extended family. My grandmother took care of all her grandchildren, but ultimately others went, and I remained with grandma until she died.
What were the painful experiences that you went through as a child?
When I grew up, around when I was 6 years old, that's when I started to stay with my aunt. Because of the way we were staying at home, I was sleeping in the same house with the boys. They were older than me, and because of that, I think they saw me, I don't know, as someone that they can be very close to. I was like a little sister to them, though they had other intentions that I didn't know as a little girl. And that's where molestation started to happen, because the older one was 9 years older than me, and the other one was 6 years older than me.
Okay.
And things started to happen when I was still 6 years old. And by that time, as a girl child, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was happening.
Yes, you're too young to express what
Yes. And I couldn't share anything that was happening with me, with them, to anyone, because my aunt was not there anytime.
Yeah.
She was just an aunt because I was staying with them.
Okay.
And the husband had a construction company. You know, in a rural place, everyone is welcome at home.
Yes.
And there were these people who would usually come with the husband. And
His
those,
employees.
yes. And there was this man who also took advantage of this little girl whom I was. And he raped me as a little girl. And I couldn't share this with anyone. And this brought trauma as I grew up.
Yeah. And as a child, you had to carry this load on your own because you couldn't share it.
Yes, ma'am. I had to go on living with this. I couldn't share it with anyone because as I was growing, because of the society, how it looked at a girl child, I thought maybe they were going to like persecute me or something like that. So I had to stay with this until it came out as something that was negative in my life, because I couldn't stay in any relationship with, and it brought anger within me.
Okay. Mautu, can you tell us about how your molestation began?
Like I said, I stayed with my grandma, and I went to boarding school at 15. So during December holidays, we would have a family reunion where, like, my other aunt stayed in Gaborone with their children, so they would come. And amongst the people who came in December was my sister's boyfriend at the time. So he'd come, his home was Muchudi, but he would come and be with us at home during the holiday. And he touched me inappropriately. He would fondle me, he would touch my breasts, he would touch my private parts, he would first kiss me. Like he did it thrice, attempting. He would try to rip my clothes off, and unfortunately I was 15, I was older, and I would fight him off. I went and told my grandmother, and she called me, my aunt, my sister, the girlfriend to the man, and her sister. So it was 5 of us. And when we got there, my grandmother told them, Kana Mauto said, so and so has been doing this to her. And I called you here because when this is your boyfriend. Yes. And to my dismay, how they responded really like tore me apart, because, and I'm going to say this in Setswana because it has to come out the way they said it. They said, actually, her, the girlfriend, she said, and then the sister said, hey, and Nkuku was like, but I've called you here because Mwana reported that this is what happened to her. And even my aunt said, but we need to listen. And they were not even listening. They were very, very angry, and they left. And, you know, for me, what hurt me and what really killed me was the fact that, you know, my mother was not there. Like I always say, I believe that, you know, my mother's absence became a nest for abuse, because I believe if she was there, I believe he wouldn't have tried to rape me. And I believe if she was there, my sisters wouldn't have talked that way. But my grandmother she had to be neutral. We were all her grandchildren, so she couldn't take a side in that matter. It affected me adversely, and it really pained me, because in the end, I became a bitter person. I became resentful. I was full of anger. I just hated the world. I went to school because I had to, but I just carried this burden inside me, which fermented and just killed me inside, and killed even relationships around me with everybody, not just people in my family, with everybody, boyfriends, everybody. I couldn't date, I still can't.
We are going to continue engaging our guests about the molestation that they went through as children. Please do not touch the dial. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the Ammaruri TV show. We are talking about child molestation and its effects. We've already heard about our guests' backgrounds. I want us to take it from here, Muruti. With their backgrounds, what made them more susceptible to this type of abuse?
You see, family is very central to the purposes of God in our lives. Family is important in giving a child a sense of belonging, a sense of identity and a sense of security. You know, the way God designed things was such that children do not drop from the sky, but are rather a product of love between a man and a woman who love each other, and out of that bring forth children. And so children are supposed to be nurtured within that loving relationship. And so the design of God was such that a husband and a wife who love each other will raise children in love. Now, because of sin and the damage that it has caused us, we find that there are a lot of brokenness, there's a lot of problems in that kind of setup. Here in Africa, we have a lot of problems with children that are either raised by grandmothers, relatives, maybe a mother. Very rare will it be a father. And so when you have a setup like that where the family unit is not as it was originally intended, then the enemy takes advantage of that and then comes in. If you look at the case of our two guests here today, both of them, you can see that that family structure as originally designed by God was not there. I don't hear anything about the father figure. I hear about mothers, you know, and things were not as good there. And I hear about being raised, for her, it's being raised, you know, she's raised by a relative, she raised by a grandmother. And in that kind of a setup, because the family is not what it's supposed to be, then the enemy comes in and takes advantage of that.
Yeah.
Where a mother and a father are not available to protect, people always look around and see what advantage they can take of the child. So I think just the way they grew up and the setup that they were under was not very good. For Ginos, for example, if she's a girl child with older boys all sleeping in the same room, as the boys they reach puberty, they begin to want to experiment. And who do they have? It was her right there, with men coming in and going out, and she's all alone. She says the one who was supposed to be the mother there, the auntie, was really there also. She was absent. So she was basically on her own as a girl child among so many men. That was very dangerous for her. Yeah, and with Maoto, you can hear how another man came in and took advantage of this little girl who, when he looked at, usually these people, they see vulnerability and they take advantage of it. Yeah.
Yes. Ginos, at any point in your childhood, did you speak to anyone or tell anyone about what was happening when you visited your mother, perhaps?
No, I've never shared this with anyone until I shared it with one of my colleagues when I was based at the airport, Sesratsakama Airport. Yes. She is the one who encouraged me to go and see Muruti so that I can share everything with him.
So you had this secret your entire childhood without being able to tell anyone? Muruti, why is this so? Our society as well. Maotu says that her older sister and another older female relative, they were very harsh to her. They were very unfriendly. They didn't believe her, and she couldn't tell anyone. Why is it so in our society?
You see, this desire to belong, to have somebody in your life, to have somebody that you can maybe derive livelihood or security from, can be so strong that you can choose to overlook some wrongdoings that are out there. If you look at Ginos' situation, an older sister who was supposed to defend her younger sister with all of her life decided at that time to defend her boyfriend.
It was Mautu, actually.
It was Mautu.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Mautu. Decided at that time to defend her boyfriend, which means that the thought of losing that boyfriend was for her, a very, she couldn't think about it. She would rather degrade her own sister. I mean, the kind of language that she used was terrible.
Yeah.
So she would rather, dismiss her to keep the relationship. Yes. And that's the desperation that we see. Because of lack of love and security in families, whenever we see a little bit of love, we end up holding on to it.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly what happened in this case. And with her, you see, she was vulnerable She was alone. Her mother was not there. All of these years, she felt people were doing her a favor to keep her.
Yeah.
And so exposing what was going on, especially with the sons of the house, she was afraid that she would lose maybe the home,
The security.
lose the family. And it's always about those kind of things that are then creep in.
Yes. And, you know, if someone keeps a secret like that for so long, like she did her entire childhood, not telling anyone, she's speaking about how she now told a colleague at work. What effect does that have on a child to keep something like this for so long?
Oh, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because when you have secrets like that, in the first place, these are painful things.
Yeah.
It's things that you rather forget. So what we normally do is we bury them deep down in our subconscious mind, and we cover them with cement, and we act as if it never happened. But what happens is that as you interact with life, especially in a situation where there are romantic relationships or close relationships, they tend to go deeper and find out really what is hidden there. And you have bursts of anger here and there. You have, you can't be happy in any relationship because deep down in your heart there are unresolved issues.
Yeah.
And so you have to live under a mask, and you cannot be truly yourself. And if you are not yourself, you cannot find your true purpose.
We are going to continue engaging our guests about the molestation that they went through as children. Please do not touch the dial. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the show. We are still talking to Maotu and Ginosi about childhood molestation. Ginosi, as a child, you were holding this deep secret. How did you now live as a child? Did you have a normal childhood? Were you a happy child? Were you able to play with your neighbors and your friends? How did it affect your personality?
This affected me because even at school, sometimes teachers would ask me, whom do you stay with? Because I was this little girl who was always withdrawn. And I think it's only because of the grace of God that I managed to move on with my studies. That's how it happened. And with other children, I was not very comfortable playing with anyone. Most of the time, because of where I was staying, I would be in the Semaushu. That's where I felt comfortable because there was no one who could harass me when I was there.
And you, Maotu, how did this isolate you from your relatives? And how did it affect your childhood?
Particularly, it isolated me from the family where that man came from. They lived in Gaborone and I didn't visit them. And I think Nguku decided to come up with maybe a strategy to help me. So her firstborn, that I call Me, is married in Kanye. She stays in Kanye. So during the holiday, I would go to Kanye and spend the holidays there. But during family reunions, when everybody has to come to Mogodisani, I was never home, you know, and that's something that people were always saying, this child, this unruly child, because I had to avoid the man. So I would wake up in the morning and I would just be going out in the village, visiting so and so, going there, and I ultimately got into misdemeanor because I was always away from home. I couldn't stay at home, and I harbored a lot of hatred for my relatives. The only person that I truly loved was my grandmother, because I saw her try to protect me. But anybody else, I just hated. When the other children were there and when nobody was watching me, I would beat them. I beat other children. I was the family bully. I beat other children. If nobody would touch my stuff, nobody would come near me. I would beat them and go away.
So this man remained in your family still for a long time?
He remained in my family, and he ultimately married my sister, and he died in 2014. Yeah. And my sister died in 2016. So they both died, but they died before I could heal. And during one of my counseling sessions, I told Muruti that, you know, if there was ever a time that I was happy was when that man died. You know, when I was told he was dead, I was very, very, very happy, so elated. And my sister was sick and I just prayed she would die during the funeral. That's when the reality really hit me.
That
And
you've lost a sister.
I lost a sister and I lost her before I could even tell her that
Yes.
that time.
So this obviously affected your relationship with your sister for the rest of her life.
It affected my relationship with her, but when she was sick, because when she was sick, she lived in Block 9 and I taught at Kale Hill. I would visit her. Strange enough, and as much as I hated her, I would visit her, cook for her. She
Yes,
had
sir.
problem with joints. I bought Anika oil. I would massage her. When I was not, she would say she would call people, come out to come and massage her. I massaged her. I checked when she was in hospital. Come out to come and see her, to see me. I would see her, but inside, I was just acting. I was pretending, but inside, I just wanted her to die fast.
Muruti, with our setup in Africa, the extended family is very close and children are expected to respect their elders. So how much does this make the children even more susceptible? And we hear also that the propensity to more abuse, you know, is there. How does the African setup feed that?
I must say there's a positive side to the African setup. I've lived with white people, and usually they just have their mother and their father. No one will take care of them. And I've found that they have a lot of rejection issues, more than us Africans. In the African setup, when you have other family members who can come in and take care of you, usually it closes that gap if everything goes well. The problem is when things become a little bit rough, like in their case. And so when authority, when parents, when people who are older do something wrong, and the children see it, they become rebellious inside. They rebel. And rebellion is a spirit. So there's a tendency to rebel against what they think is wrong. And that rebellion then begins to work itself in a person where now they become stubborn and they don't want to listen, and they want to do everything on their own. When there is no respect, no honor, that stubbornness, that rebellion, then can drive children to all the wrong things, drugs, sexual promiscuity, and all the other things that are just out of place. And I mean, with Maoto's case here, you see that she became a bully.
Yeah.
She felt that she was not heard, she was not protected, so her anger then went to other kids. And so growing up as a bully, has got its own things. You can see with her, she decided to be more isolated, to be withdrawn. And so this one decided to go out after her enemies. This one decided to avoid her enemies, to be more isolated. And all of that has got its own way, because rejection has got, people react differently to rejection. And I could talk about the different ways in which we react to rejection. But in their case, she went out to bully, and she decided to withdraw. And all of that will affect who they will become.
We're going to pause right there and go for a break as we continue to talk about child molestation and its effects. Welcome back to the Ammaruri TV show. We are talking about child molestation and its effects. We've heard about your difficult circumstances and you know all the hurt that we went through. How did you eventually realize that you needed help, and how did you go and seek for help, Guinness?
Like I said before, I shared my story with one of my colleagues at work. She's also my sister in the Lord. Then when I shared everything with her, she said to me, I think you should go and see Pastor Mokwane, because he will be able to help you, because we were sharing this for quite some time, and she prayed about it, and she said, God said, go and see Pastor Mokwane. And I said, how would he know? And she said, God will reveal everything to him. And I went to see the pastor, and I told him everything that I went through. And he said, you know what, I think you have to come for counseling. I came for group counseling at first, then I had to come for individual counseling, which I went through it, and ultimately at the end, I was happy.
Okay. And you, Maoto, how did you eventually seek help?
With me, I had tried before years prior. I had tried counseling. I had gone to Department of Social Services. I had been to Bucape. I had been to Busasnet, but nothing was working. And 2013, I came to see Muruti. Actually, I came to see Muruti because my son was sick, and I wanted Muruti to pray for my child. But when I got there, Muruti said, no, it's you who needs help more than the child, because in the state that you are in, you can't take care of your child. So we're going to have to deal with you first. And that's how I started. And that was 2013. And it was a long journey of sometimes me dodging counseling, sometimes me not coming to church, and it was very difficult. And you know, I sometimes just talk to my son, and he says to me, hey mama, your pastor never gave up on me, because he knew I would sometimes not be going for church for like 6 months. I recall the other time I was talking to him, we were talking about it, and I was telling him I hadn't been going to church for more than, I think, close to a year. I hadn't been going to church. And because that was after my grandmother had died. I was dealing with grief and then dealing with my issues, and it was very difficult. So I'm Ruti's friends on Facebook. So he shared that Pastor Pearl, Apostle Pearl would be preaching. And I wasn't talking to God at the time. I wasn't even talking to Muruti. I was angry with Muruti because he wasn't helping me. I felt that he wasn't helping me. And I was angry with God because God wasn't showing Muruti what to do to solve my problem fast. Yes. So I wasn't talking to the both of them. But I went to church because I had to listen to...
Apostle Pearl.
Yeah, I think Muruti saw me, and that's what I would do. I would just dodge. So immediately I dodged. After she had preached, I dodged. Then Muruti, I heard footsteps behind me. This Muruti running after me. Hey, Maut, wait for me. And I was like, hey. In my heart, I was thinking like, hey, what does he want? But I stopped, and he just looked at me and authoritatively said, you are coming for counseling tomorrow. And I came and we continued.
Muruti, why do people do that? Why do they start looking for help and then seem to get tired along the way?
I don't think it's getting tired. When you have wounds that you have protected with everything, you have covered up for the longest time, you are not so free to really allow anyone to go into that space. And so people, it's too painful to visit those painful memories. And so people they want to be free, but the thought of going back to that place is just a terrible place.
Confronting
themselves,
the events
basically.
again.
And so many people run away from confronting themselves. They want the benefits of being free, but they don't want the process of being free. And that is why nowadays, pastors who say they just deliver you quickly and you get solution, via deliverance, they have lots of followers. But the truth is that you can't just...
There are no results.
You can't just say problems are just spiritual without dealing with the actual psychological impact that they had on them. Mao, for example, one of the reasons that she was running away is because she had to face her own wounds, the pain for parts of her life. The other part that has not come out clear, because today we are talking basically on child molestation, is her relationship with her own mom. Every time I talked about her and the mom and her forgiving her, she will literally throw up because of all of the poison that was inside of her because of unforgiveness. And will literally stop the counseling so that she does that. We come back, we go back to the issue of forgiving her mom. It was a tough thing. Her mom and her sisters, it was a very, very tough thing that actually physically had poison building up in her body. And so people are afraid to confront themselves, basically, because sometimes you covering things up seems okay at the time because you can soothe yourself with, you know, the mask. But the truth is that seeds that have not been dug up will grow one way or the other.
Yes. Gidos, you mentioned that you had never told anyone before. How were you able now to meet this pastor and just open up to him?
When I looked at him, I looked at him as a father figure, not just a pastor to me. And that gave me comfort in opening up and telling him everything that I went through. And I felt that this is the time that I should tell someone everything so that maybe I will get help, I'll get healed out of all the pains that I've gone through. And
so prior to that, you had been attending church?
Yeah,
I was at church.
Yes.
So you knew his teachings, and so that is why you felt you could trust him as well?
Yes, that was the point.
Okay. And Maud, how was the process for you?
For months and months, we would just come to throw up. We were not making any progress because I would come and he says, before he starts, he would say, let's pray. Sometimes when he lays hands on me to pray, I would throw up. He comes back and he says, but your mother, I would throw up. So it was for a very long time. I think that's why it took from 2013 until now. I'm still in counseling because it was just deep wounds. It was a very painful. Muruti went to a place in my heart, in my spirit, where nobody has been able to. You know, he was able to just penetrate those dark places that I, and even, you know, get me to maybe bring forth some of the things that I had kept hidden.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to continue after the break as we hear about how they got healing from child molestation. Welcome back to the Amaruri TV show. We are talking about child molestation and its effects. We are now talking about your healing process and the counseling that you received. Mautu, I think we need to talk more about your process because yours took a much longer time. Do you know what dragged the process?
It was the intensity of the pain and my fear to confront the demons, to go back in time, because healing entailed me going back in time and admitting that this was done to me and that it hurt, and also forgiving the people who had hurt me. And that was the hardest part. I couldn't, especially my mother, I couldn't forgive her. I recall one day I came into, I didn't have an appointment. That day I wanted to just kill my mother. I came and I just sat down and I told Muruti, today Muruti, I want to go home and kill my mother. Muruti said, how are you going to kill her? I said, I'm going to poison her. I just wanted, because I felt that I had to just get rid of her, because I just felt that everything that happened to me revolved around it. So forgiving her meant that would open doors to forgiving everybody else who had hurt me as a result of what she did to me. And one thing that I need to say is that in the first day I came to see Muruti in 2013, he told me that I had, like, over years I had accumulated toxins, poisons in my body. And he said to me, you need to forgive these people, because these people are killing you. You are carrying toxins, and I am telling you, if you do not forgive them, you are going to die. It will become a physical ailment, and it will kill you. Your life literally depends on you forgiving these people. And that was in 2013. But like I said, it was difficult, and I couldn't forgive them, and it went on until...
Why was it difficult to forgive them?
You know, when somebody has hurt you, you want them to pay. I told Muruti that I can't just, these people, they walk scot-free. Like with everything that they had done to me, they were just going to walk scot-free. I wanted them to pay, but then Muruti would say that, you know, vengeance belongs to God, and that I have to forgive them, and that let God deal with everything else. But I couldn't, because I wanted Muruti to tell me that no, they are going to die. I wanted them to die, but Muruti was saying they are not going to die, and that is where the problem came in. I didn't want to forgive them.
And did you actually end up with a physical ailment because of this?
Yeah, I did. Early this year. Early this year, I had a brush with death. I was very sick. I had low platelet count. I was bleeding. You know, I was supposed to be on period, but I woke up in the morning and I had bled into my bed. I went to the clinic. They suspected that I had committed abortion. They referred me to Marina. Marina initially, they too tested it if I had aborted, and ultimately, I think when they realized that, they took blood and they checked my platelet count was at 4, and the doctors were saying that I am going to die. They actually pronounced me dead the Friday that I arrived there. They were saying that I was going very soon, because the platelets are chemicals that make the blood clot. Yes. So my blood wasn't clotting. And said because my blood wasn't clotting, very soon blood is going to be coming from every opening in my body. They were like in hours. But I spent the night in the hospital, and the following day, actually I had told Muruti that I'm going to the hospital, and I told Muruti, and Muruti came to the hospital, and there he told me, you see, I told you you will die. You see where you are. Today you are going to die. If you don't forgive these people, you are going to die. And I told him that I had low platelet count. He told me, what I'm going to do is I am going to pray to God. I'm going to order platelets for you today. God is going to deliver the platelets. But as for how you keep your healing, as for how you go on from here, as for the rest of your life, that entirely, like I've been saying all these years, depends on you forgive. So you need to forgive these people before you leave the hospital. And I already ordered the platelets, and they came. When I was discharged from hospital, they had shot from 4 platelets to 211.
Wow.
And even the doctors were shocked. I recall when the doctor who brought the results up, when they were checking the platelets before discharging me, she came with the paper. She was jumping up and down, saying, I can't believe it. You're not going to believe it. When I was discharged, like everybody was even the nurses,
was in shock.
Everybody was in shock. They could not believe that they had not seen. They told me that in the entire time that they had been in hospital, they had never seen anybody's platelet count shoot from 4 to 211. But in the time that I was in the hospital, I was able to forgive my mother, and
Wow, that's an amazing testimony.
Yeah.
Kinosi, it seems for you the process was a bit shorter. So you came to Muruti with a readiness now to move on with your life. Were you tired?
Yeah, when I went to see Muruti, I was very tired of the pain that I've been going through with. So I had decided that, you know what, I have to let go. Even Muruti said to me, you know what, Kinosi, you have to let go of everything, because some of the people that who have hurt you, they are late, and when you are still holding this pain against them, you have to let go. Some, like the man whom I said he raped me, I didn't even know him. I didn't even know where he was. So I was forced to let go. I thought that I was tired, so I had to let go, because I felt that this would also affect my child.
Yes.
Yes, so I wanted to let go. And and when Muruti spoke to me, I did everything. I said, you know what, God, this is the time. Now I want to be free.
Had you already seen the effects of your pain in your child?
Yeah, because the relationship between me and my child was not that good, because I had to, like, I was given to my relatives. I also left my child when she was 9 months old, when I was deployed to Mamuno border post. And she was also raised by my mother. Then she went to stay with my aunt.
Similar to
What happened to me. Then when she was doing Form 1, that was when I took her and said, you know what, Kinusi, you have to take responsibility of your child.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much to talk about in so little time. Do not move. We are going to continue talking about child molestation and its effects. Welcome back to our last segment, where we are talking about child abuse and its effects. Muruti, Kinosi was talking about a cycle of, what her childhood was now affecting her child's childhood. Yes, why is this cycle and, the susceptibility to be prone to abuse?
Yeah, before we go to her child, if you remember earlier, she talked about how she moved from one relative to another family. And for some reason, she continued being molested in people who did not know anything about what had happened to her. You see, it's very important for us to understand that we are spiritual beings. A human being is a spirit, they have a soul, and they live in a body. Your soul is where your mind, your emotions, and your will is. So what happens in our lives is when we certain things happen in us, it's almost like in the spirit we are marked. For example, rejection. You find that people don't like you. Everywhere you go, a new school, people don't like you. You go there, people don't like you. And you wonder, what have I done to these people who may not even know me? It's just marked in that mark in your spirit that says rejection. And so you can see that as a result of what happened to her earlier in her age, there was almost like a mark of molestation on her, that even new people that did not know her tend to do the same thing. The same with rape. I found during my counseling sessions that people who were raped, it seemed like
it's likely to happen to them
it's
again.
likely to happen to them with new strangers. People who were introduced to same-sex relationships at a young age, when they were innocent, they didn't have it. As they go on, similar thing happens with strangers. So it seems like there's this cycle that just keeps on going on in your life, and then when it's not dealt with, then it goes to your offspring. And then it's a cycle that continues to go on and on like that. And that is why it's very important for this thing to be broken somewhere when people decide to take responsibility. We may talk about spirits that they may mark people, but spirits only take advantage of what's already in them. Let's say, for example, there was a spirit of molestation that was in her. It was only taking advantage of the fact that she did not deal with the molestation that happened to her. So when she started dealing with the molestation that happened to her, she broke the power of that spirit. It cannot be comfortable in a place of healing where she is healed. And so this cycle that we are talking about comes from the fact that it's almost like you are marked in the spirit, and people with similar things, then they tend to be attracted to you in that way.
Yes. How can you encourage other people who have gone through child abuse at home? Is there hope? How can they cope? How can you encourage them as we close the show?
I would say to everyone that they should speak out, because there is help out there. They should seek help, either counseling from social workers, or they can go to the pastors, because pastors, they do a good job because of the background of knowing the word of God, because certain things will be revealed to them. Then they'll be able to assist you. And that will help them a lot, especially if they go to see pastors like I have done. It has helped me, and that has brought healing into my life and the relationship that I have with my child right now, because it affects yourself and your child also. I have a good relationship now with my child because now we share so many things together, unlike before. So I will encourage people, even the parents, to be close to their kids, especially a girl child. Be close to your child so that you understand what is going on at school with the people around her, because you cannot trust even the uncles who are always with her. You cannot, when such thing has happened, you cannot trust anyone. So you need really to be close to your child so that you will understand. And especially the kids, they cannot share that with you. But you should have that eye to always be looking for how is my child, because those things you are, as a parent, you are able to pick them at an early stage.
Thank you, Kinosi. Maoto, how will you encourage viewers and parents listening at home about this situation?
For parents, I would say they first, you need to listen and you need to believe your child. Because it's not easy for a child to come and say, so-and-so has done this to me. And when you dismiss them, you're throwing them out in the world. And if you, the parent, can't listen to the child, the world too can't listen to the child. And for everybody else at home, viewers at home, forgiveness is grave. Forgiveness can kill you. Most of these non-communicable diseases, they are a result of unforgiveness. BP, your sugar levels shoot up, like the platelets in my case, they're just a result of unforgiveness, because it kills you. Like in my case, that said the spleen was eating the platelets and poisoning the rest of the body. It was going to be a short illness. We hear, so-and-so had a short illness, they died. They had a headache, they died. I used to have a migraine. I no longer have migraine. I used to have migraine. When it hit, I would have to be taken to the doctors to get a shot. Not only pills, not even pills could heal me until I forgave. So I'm just asking people to please get help and forgive, because we're dying. I'd be dead. Fortunately, I had a pastor who wasn't going to allow me to die. Yeah, but you wouldn't get lucky. You wouldn't be as blessed as I am to have somebody who'd be able to follow you to the hospital, to pray for you in hospital. If he hadn't come to pray for me, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Muruti, what is your last word to our viewers?
Well, she has said it very well. Forgiveness is very important. It's that bridge to the other side. And we all have issues. We are in a fallen world, and until we deal with them, we may not find the freedom that we are looking for. Also, it's very important for us to understand that unresolved issues, one way or the other, will always come up somewhere. And so people must really work at resolving the issues. Kinosi earlier was saying, look for help from pastors and all. Unfortunately, some pastors have issues that they have not resolved. So it doesn't necessarily mean that all the pastors are safe. And so, unfortunately, some pastors have done some terrible things, have actually caused this kind of damage to congregants. So just be wise where you are going, so that because if you are damaged by a pastor where you are looking for a solution, it can be even
make things worse.
Extremely dangerous. But yeah, forgiveness is key.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pastor Mohokane. Thank you, Maotu. Thank you, Kinosi. You have been watching the Amaruri TV show, where we talked about child molestation and its effects. Children are a heritage from the Lord and a reward from Him. Let us treat them with all care and due diligence. Let the adults be better in their conduct and not put their happiness before their children's. Remember that our children are our future. If we do not take care of them, our future will be bleak. Join us again next time as we pursue truth on the Amaruri TV show. Goodbye.
Amaru.